In Dragon Age Veilguard, it was revealed that the game's version of Dragon Age Keep, a place where you can set the choices you made in the Dragon Age games, has only 3 choices that can be picked. Who you romance in Dragon Age Inquisition, whether you disband in the Inquisition or not, and if you vow to stop or save Solus. That's not a lot. The Well of Sorrows choice isn't there, whether you ally or consume the Mage Templars aren't there, the Grey Warden choice isn't there, and many others. This honestly does suck. I have complicated feelings on the idea of choices and consequences carrying over from a game to game. On one hand, I love how we can see our choices affect the world in a big and small ways. Little cameos and texts that mention that what we did before is really cool, and the big stuff like seeing Kirin, the dog ritual baby, being there or not is really impactful. But I also think choices and consequences can limit what a game's story can be, because the games will eventually be knotted up so much that it's hard to do anything without invalidating other choices, or the story being told is a lot harder to do. The games will then just be about showing your choices off and not actually telling a story. An example of this is curing the genophage or not in Mass Effect. If we did cure the genophage, the threat in Mass Effect 5 would be different. An army of Krogan is just too hard to beat, but if it wasn't cured, then a different threat would have to be there. It is inevitable that games like this will corner off the world, not because there are no more stories to tell, but because they can't tell any stories without invalidating choices. What I think I want is big choices to be canonized and smaller ones like romances to be carried over from game to game, because at least then we have a world that can continue and have some small measure of player choice be validated. But what I feel, and this is just a feeling that I have with no evidence, it's not fact or whatever, is that Bioware might want to just canonize a few choices. It makes sense for Mass Effect 5, but for Dragon Age it feels like that is what they're trying to do. If they are doing that, then they should just come out and say it. And that is my feeling on it. But it is important to note that what Bioware is doing isn't invalidating players' choices. John Epler has said as much. He simply says that they limited to those 3 choices because they feel like those choices can lead to something meaningful, and they tried their best to not invalidate previous choices. Which is nice, but I feel like something is lost without having a giant list of choices to make, especially big ones, for example Kirin, keeping or destroying the Anvil Void, who drank from the Well of Sorrows, or who even the Divine is. It just sucks that those aren't there. Those are huge choices that would have some impact, even if Kirin doesn't have an old god soul anymore, or the Well of Sorrows choice doesn't really matter because Solus is a ghost and Mythol died at the end of Dear Dragon Age Inquisition. But them not being there feels bad. It feels like it indicates that our choices just don't matter, even if that isn't the case. Them not being there feels like Bioware is saying they weren't important choices that we as fans liked. Having just 3 choices just doesn't feel great. And I think this is honestly the most demotivating thing revealed about Veilguard. Not the gameplay, not the art style, or anything like that. This core part of Bioware's identity, one part of it, that no other studio even dares to do. CD Projekt Red tries to do it, but fails. Your choice in Witcher 2 has no impact in Witcher 3, and they literally just retcon Thaler's possible death in Witcher 1. Fallout 2 canonized the Brotherhood of Steel ending, and even Larian doesn't try it, setting their future games 100 years into the future or past. But Bioware has kept this going. Despite what I want Bioware to do, Bioware has chosen their path, and it sucks that they aren't at least given us the facade of choices mattering. If your Grey Warden was a male noble, and you had sex with a noble hunter, it resulted in them having a child. That child was never mentioned in Dragon Age 2 or Inquisition, but that is fine. Seeing it in Dragon Age Keep made the games feel more interconnected. Even if some of the choices didn't get the Easter egg references, it would have been nice for Bioware to at least do some of those things. And even if they didn't have that, it would also still be fine because at least we can see a list of it and see, oh, these games are interconnected. They do matter. They have a broader connection to them. It isn't substantial, but it's better than not having it at all. So why did Bioware not do Dragon Age Keep in DAV? And why didn't they do these Easter egg references or one-liner? Well, according to John Epler, it's because they felt like they can do meaningfully something with the 3 choices on offer, because they wanted to make the choices we made in previous games more than just cameos and one-liners, which I can genuinely respect. I want that, but I don't think what they're doing is great. If I had the option between cameos and one-liners or not having them at all, I would choose the former. Now, is this bad? From what you may have heard me say, you might think I think this is bad. I do, but not in the way some are thinking. Does it suck? Yes. Should have Bioware done what they did before? Yes. But Dragon Age Veilguard is not a worse game because of it. Everything we have learned about Dragon Age Veilguard is isolated from the choices we made in the past. But what we have learned looks amazing, genuinely looks good, and Dragon Age Veilguard isn't suddenly bad because of it. It certainly sours it, but it looks like it's going to be good and final right. Sure, things like what about Morrigan's choice of the Well of Sorrows and Kirin does matter and does have a lot of impact to it, but I don't necessarily think it's going to make the game worse because there are mitigating circumstances. Kirin doesn't have an Old God's Soul anymore, and the Old God's Soul was something with Mythal, so that could necessarily be wrapped up by Morrigan just has the Old God's Soul now and is used to power up as like a Mythal figure or something like that. And as for the Well of Sorrows choice, well, again, as I said before, Solus is a ghost and Mythal is dead. Like, it implies at the end of Dragon Age Inquisition that the Well of Sorrows can't really be used to mind control anyone, which certainly does suck, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a huge important choice. Again, it sucks, but it doesn't make the game worse. I don't know where to put this, so I'll put it here. For people saying this 3-choice limit is because of Solomancers and Bioware, shut up. Honestly, you really think that the reason for this limit? I honestly don't get why people think there is an ulterior motive here when there just isn't any evidence beyond Corin Bush being a Solomancer. It sucks, dude. It really does. But the reason it happened is because of what John Epler said. Now, could there be more reasons for this decision than what John Epler said? Yes. But one of those reasons isn't because of Solomancers. Another reason for the change could simply be that Bioware is facing the reality that the choices will lock off any stories in the world. That is why I think they set it into winter and skipped 10 years into the future, so they could avoid these issues. Who was stuck in the Fate choice has probably been resolved. It's been 10 years. Does it suck that we didn't get to see it? Yes. But setting it into winter and skipping 10 years allows Bioware to tell stories without making a game to just show off people's choices. And that is cool to have a game that just shows off people's choices, but like, that's not the stories that Bioware normally tells and what makes them great. But there is some hope that this may not be the case. A reply by John Epler implies that we will have our previous choices impact DAV in some way, by the world state being more informal rather than Dragon Age Keep's formal way. We will not be picking options from the start of the game, but by us asking or answering questions, similar to how Culture 2 did it. Where Atten would say, Revan's a hot babe, and you could retort by saying, you moron, Revan isn't a hot babe, they're a hot dude. Or, yes, they are a hot babe, and whichever answer you give is the canon answer, meaning that if Revan's a hot babe, they're a woman. If Revan's a hot dude, they're a man. Now, I'm not saying it will work exactly like Culture 2, just that is the idea, which I think I'm fine with. It will be weird for new players, but I do think Dragon Age Keep at the beginning will also be weird for them as well. Regardless, I do hope this means that our choices can still be representative in the game in some fashion, even if it is in a different format. But again, may not be the case. I just wish they would confirm if it is a Culture 2 style implementation or not. But there is hope. One of the great things about Bioware games since the beginning was the ability to import our characters and choices across games. Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 were early examples of this, and it was cool. Mass Effect expanded the concept greatly, and Dragon Age also expanded it in a different way. I do hope what is implied by John Epler is true. But I am looking forward to Veilguard still. It looks incredible on so many levels, from the cinematics, combat, story, voice acting, and so many other things. I will enjoy the game immensely when it comes out. I don't think the 3 choices will make the game any less enjoyable. For people who are saying the game is now doomed or bad, are just wrong. The game is certainly less, but it doesn't mean it is automatically doomed or bad. All it is just a missed opportunity. Sure, it sucks that it seems our choices won't carry forward, but I think Veilguard will still be a good game in the end. And that's the video. So like, I kind of avoided this discourse and I didn't really know that this was happening at all. So, yeah, I guess. And, I don't know. It sucks what Bioware did and not having us, have these choices matter. Or not, it's not really that. It kind of feels like that, but it's not really that. It's just that we won't be able to get, like, physical confirmation that, yeah, our choices, like, are there and they, we can see them. Even if they don't matter really, it's still nice to see them there, But yeah, this has been the video. I hope you enjoy it. If you like it, please consider liking. If you liked it a lot, maybe even consider subscribing. And comment down below and share your thoughts about it. Do you think DAV is a worse game because of this? Or do you think it sucks, but DAV is still going to be a good game in the end? Or are you indifferent from this? Please do tell me in the comments down below.